this happened to me. Well, and I'm going to tell you something. I've got a friend that went through 2 tours of Iraq too. But is there something inside that makes you want to get back there and make, I don't want to say payback, but kind of finish things?
No, it was definitely not a payback thing. I don't know if I'm one of the, special in any way. I never really had any ill will to anyone's there. The simple fact is, if you're going to try to kill me, I'm going to protect myself and protect my men. The wanting to go back is, I just had such a love of my guys. I felt
you want to protect your team, your comrades.
Yeah, I felt like if they were there, then I should be there too. I wholeheartedly believe, no man left behind, and you're fighting not necessarily the bad guys, but you're just fighting for your brothers and your sisters in arms. And so there was definitely a sense of they're still out there, they're still struggling, they're still in the suck, and I'm here. Right. And if I'm able-bodied, I should be there. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, when you say your brothers and sisters that are out there now, how do you distinguish? I mean, I'm sure you have family here that maybe wanted you to say, hey, stay, you've done your thing, stay with us, it's our turn now.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. It's hard to describe, because when you're a part of such an amazing unit and you love the guys you're with, I don't know. I felt that I was ripped away from them more than I was given back to my family, if that makes sense. I was missing a part of kind of who I was, and especially for a long time after my service, being a veteran or being a military member, an Army infantryman, that was such a big part of my identity. I was only 22 at the time, and that was my worldview, that was my identity. And so having that ripped away, it was almost like trying to regain what was ripped from me. So it was part, being there with them and continuing the mission. But it was also part trying to reclaim, I wasn't going to let this change who I was. I'm still the Army guy. I'm still the infantry guy. And so trying to recapture that.
And when my friend came back that did 2 tours in Iraq, I wanted to have a conversation, but it got really deep really fast, and I didn't know how to handle it, to tell you the truth. But he told me that, I said, well, what's so hard? What are you dealing with? And he said that, when he was out there, he'd have a bad day, he'd grab his rifle and go to town, if you know what I mean. Whereas here, he's having a problem dealing with some of the day-to-day stuff that he couldn't, fix when he was out there. And it was pretty graphic. I don't want to get into that, but yeah, it's just a scary thought. And I'm sure you've got a lot of family that glad you're finally back here, and you are in one piece. So it's glued a little bit differently, but you're back here in one piece. And once again, thanks. Once again, thanks for your service.
Thank you.
You don't want to show them?
Oh, the bobblehead.
Your bobblehead.
I have it. Yeah, this is my wife got me.
Missing a middle finger too.
Yeah, there it is.
And I want to get to him being a comedian and his radio show coming up, but for those of you listening, Michael's got this bobblehead, and it's pretty funny. It looks just like him, missing its middle finger just like him, and it's...
Now, did that come that way, or did you perform the operation yourself?
No, my wife, she had it custom made,
okay.
And they did a really good job
Michael's once told me, he's like, I've lost the best finger.
Yeah, it's
but
one of the
we'll get to that in a second. Let's take our break, and we'll be back with Moments of Clarity in just a moment. Please stay tuned.
You're listening to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner. We welcome your input at 866-826-1340. Tiffany will be right back after this.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Do you ask yourself any of these questions? Will I ever be able to get out of debt? Will I ever be able to retire? How am I going to pay for my children's education? How do I begin saving for my family's future? And if something were to happen to me, Will my family be taken care of? Have you struggled in finding the answers? Forever Forward Financial can help answer these and many more questions about your financial future by teaching you how money works, by providing you the financial education you seek, by assisting you in making the right retirement or educational decisions that are best for you and your family, and by helping you take the necessary steps in establishing and meeting your financial goals. Please call us today and schedule your complimentary, no-obligation meeting to discuss your needs and concerns. The number, 727-422-7761.
Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. Living with a mental health disorder is not easy. If you or someone you know are struggling with this, please know it's so important to seek treatment, and I'm here to help. Please visit the website at momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com to view blog posts and resources on this site to help educate and inspire you to take action, because there's no shame in seeking help for mental health. While you're there, please take a few seconds to sign up for my email list. You'll get some extremely valuable educational and entertaining content that can be sent right to your inbox each week. Plus, you'll also get instant and free access to my guide on managing your anxiety. You can also follow me on Twitter at MOC with Tiffany and at Facebook at Tiffany Warner. And once again, the website is momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com. Thank you so much for your support and for listening to your show, because change can only come when we stand together as one.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
We are back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner. To join in the discussion, call 866-826-1340. Now, here's Tiffany Warner.
Hi, thanks. And we're back. And if you're just tuning in, this is Moments of Clarity. My name's Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And today I am so honored to have such a courageous guest. It's always heart-wrenching and heart-filled when it's someone that's taken and risked their lives for the American way of life and for our safety and for our country. And I lose track of words on, because as civilians, a lot of times we say the wrong thing and they're like, oh, I don't know what to say when you say, oh, thank you for your service. They're like, I was just doing my duty. And, it's always something from each of them. But anyway, my guest today is a wounded warrior. He lost his best finger. He can't flip anyone off on one hand. So he said, and not only that, but he was an infantry, airborne infantry man. He was serving in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and he was shot 5 times. He actually died twice. Wounded warrior, Purple Heart recipient, and came back in one piece pretty much. And welcome back to Moments of Clarity, Michael Carrasquillo. And thank you, Mike. And not only that, that he is now a stand-up comedian, a radio show host, and so much. And I just can't wait to get back into that. I want to welcome callers to call in 866-826-1340. Once again, 866-826-1340. And you're also welcome to watch the full stream on YouTube visually at youtube.com/MOC with Tiffany. And so anyway, we were getting into the stand-up comedian and the radio show. So how'd you get into that? You came back and now you've got a radio show that's called Pop Culture Warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got this logo on, Pop Culture Warrior.
Got the
and so tell me a little bit about what your show's about and the station and how. Okay, let's start with this. I want to hear about the stand-up comedian.
Yeah,
because that came first.
Yeah, and that leads into it. Yeah,
and then how it got into the radio.
Yeah, so obviously I was injured and a couple years, struggled. It's a very common thing, anxiety, depression, isolation, and struggled, with a lot of the darker stuff of what I'd went through. And was very fortunate that, there's a lot of great nonprofits out there for veterans, Wounded Warrior Project, Disabled Sports, and all these different things. And so over time, I got better both physically and kind of mentally, and kind of got into a better spot. And after a couple of years break, started working again, and was little by little kind of picking up the pieces, and kind of, I had this giant hole in my soul because I'd loved being in the military, and I loved being an infantryman. I loved serving with my brothers and sisters, and it's not a hole you can just fill with anything. And unfortunately, a lot of guys, try booze and pills and all these different vices to kind of fill that void. And I was fortunate that I started little by little picking it up to pieces, and got to a good enough place that I felt, physically and mentally kind of, at that baseline, that neutral of where I'm like, okay, I'm not great, but I'm not suffering. And that's when I really started to try to find things that pushed me out of my boundaries. One of the first things a good friend of mine suggested was volunteer work. And so I did a lot of charity stuff. I signed up with, Habitat for Humanity and different organizations, speaking and participating and mentoring and doing different things. I started a peer support group for disabled veterans, and just to kind of connect and share our stories and support each other. So in doing all these different things, slowly was starting to get in a really good place. And finally, I felt like the last barrier for me was kind of really putting myself out there. I was still behind a kind of a protective bubble. I wasn't putting myself out there. And
right.
I found a program.
An avoidance or something.
Yeah. Just staying in that safety blanket,
right.
And
pretty
doing
common.
well.
People have been through trauma and been through something very stressful, traumatic, and overwhelmed like that. You kind of want to like isolate and kind of just curl into a corner,
Absolutely. So I was doing okay, but I wasn't really
your whole life. But
right. So one day I had heard about this program. It's for veterans, but it's also for, you don't have to be disabled veteran, but it's, disabled veterans, family members of veterans, like wives, kids. But it's a program that it does free arts programs. It's called the Armed Services Arts Partnership, ASAP. And they basically provide all types of arts.
Wait, what? I love it. It's ASAP.
Yes, it's ASAP. Armed Services Arts Partnership.
Awesome.
And so they provide all these free classes. They do storytelling, they do art, they do music, they do improv. And one of the classes they teach is a stand-up comedy boot camp. And so I've always been a fan of comedy. I never saw myself doing it. I was, a little bit the class clown when I was a kid and loved the attention and making people laugh. But I never thought about like, oh, I one day want to be in comedy. But
funny how they call it a boot camp, though.
Yeah, that's
get out of all that
military aspect.
Gosh, you got to get back into a boot camp for comedy.
It's a 6-week class. It's once a week. It's a 6-week class, and you learn the fundamentals. Like they're not sitting there writing jokes for you, but you just learn the fundamentals. What makes things funny? What are they
don't write your bits for you?
Comedy. Yeah, you learn the rule of 3 and misdirection and exaggeration and act outs and characters and different things, and learn stage presence, how to hold the mic, all these different things. And so I honestly went into it as, because still dealing with a lot of social anxiety. I don't like being in the spotlight. I don't like talking in front of people I don't know. And so the idea of I'm going to take this class, and at the end of the class, you graduate, you put on a performance. You actually on stage, lights and hundreds of people. And that terrified me, but kind of in a way that I was like, okay, this is going to be me pushing my boundaries. This is me putting myself out there. And I fully intended to take the class, do the performance, and then check that off the bucket list. I performed a stand-up comedy set and just more like utilize it as more of an internal, like I did it,
Yeah.
But in going through the process, I loved it. And it was the idea of you go through it with these other veterans and stuff. And it was almost like having my squad again. Like I was with veterans that I could talk to and we could make each other laugh. And it was just like being back minus all the, combat stuff. And I loved it. I loved the biggest thing that comedy gave me was it gave me control of my narrative. And so, for so long, I've been that wounded warrior. I've been the guy that this stuff happened to. But with something like comedy, the construct, you get to control it. You know what I mean? I get to share my story the way I want to.
Yeah.
And so I was able to, my comedy is very truthful. It comes from a very truthful place, but it's exaggerated. It's silly. There's information that's either pulled out or put in, or, it's all these different things. And it gave me.
Got anything off the cuff for us?
Oh man,
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I'm a bit of a storyteller.
I always end up doing that by accident when
it's one of those things.
It's like I love